Currently listening to DYNAMIX. Welcome everybody. How is it out there? Right. Let's get Eric up.
Yo! How's everybody doing out there? Yeah, so first off, thank you everybody that's tuning in and stuff. We love the fuck out of you people. Keep watching, hit that share button, hit the like button. You know the routine. Do it. So yeah, we wanted to start a new project where basically we're going to like showcase different artists from around the Clown Army each month. And just, you know, try and show them a whole bunch of love and be in the Clown Army, have fun, you know? So I thought, I know who I want to hear and stuff, but it ain't about who I want to hear. Let's see who you guys want to see and stuff, and let you guys vote on who you want us to interview and spotlight each time. And for our first episode, you guys chose the wonderful Alan Crawford, aka DYNAMIX. So we're going to be interviewing the great man. There he is. Hey, Alan. Hey, baby.
Oh, is it me?
It's you.
Sorry, I'm watching this dude on YouTube just now. He's awesome.
Yeah. So
I better put the phone down then, eh?
Everybody give the beautiful Alan Crawford a big hand, a big applause. Yay. Give him a hand.
John.
Yeah, so
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Yeah, so Alan, everybody chose you as the first person for the first episode of this this new like Clown Army showcase we're doing. People love you out there, man. People love you out there.
Leroy. Thanks to Leroy for putting me into the poll. Cheers, Leroy.
You snuck your name in there.
Snuck me in. And thanks for everybody that voted to hear me talk nonsense to Eric for the first ever interview.
And
I'm humbled. I'm truly humbled.
Everybody to want to listen to me talk nonsense in general. Jesus, what's wrong with people? I think they're all on drugs.
And if they're not, they should be.
They should be, damn it. Say yes. Sorry.
Okay.
So yeah, Alan, I've known you for a long time. I feel like 5 or 6 years, 5 or 6 years, something like that.
Got to be about that. Got to be about that.
Yeah, you're one of the few people I actually, from the Clown Army, have had the honor of meeting in person.
Yeah.
Gorgeous Roy, I see you, baby. Yeah, we went to Super Booth in, what was it, 2023?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. It was you, me, Marks, Jen S, Stefanatic. And
Yeah,
yeah,
we saw Robert as well. Robert came to see
Robert,
us.
yeah, Robert was there.
A
Yeah, that
couple
was
others.
a good time. We need to make that happen again.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I went last year on my own because nobody would go with me.
Right. Aw.
But I met a bunch of clowns from Edinburgh who were great to hang about with. Mark Davidson. Yeah, I'm sure. I think you guys did briefly meet them the year before.
Yeah,
But it meant I got to spend a lot of time hanging about with Sarah on my own, and that was superb as well. So big shout out to Sarah Summers.
yeah, she's epic. She's epic. I gotta say, Alan, I see you everywhere online, and you are like just a ray of sunshine in a sometimes dark world. I mean, you're just always. I see you up in people's comments. Yeah, I can't do it, right? But I see you up in comments and just showing people love. I mean, you're so positive all the time. How are you so positive all the time?
I don't know. Because I'm a bit of a clown. Yeah, I don't know. I like to see people doing well, and if people are down, I like to try and give them a little bit of a boost. And
Yeah,
because I know people do that for me too. You know, people give me a bit of a boost if I'm feeling a bit low or whatever. And
yeah.
I appreciate
that's what it's all about is what does Mark always say? Keep people
positive.
Keep people positive.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, they say it's music. They say it's music that makes the world go round, but it's really love. Love makes the world go round. So.
All right, don't break out into any John Lennon songs or anything. All right, please, God, no. Well,
you're doing a great job, by the way, Eric. So breathe, just breathe. You know? No, heavy breathe.
No, so yeah, I put together a couple like questions, kind of music related questions. Just kind of we want to get to know you better, kind of get to know your creative process, like what inspires you. Do you put your left sock on first or your right sock on first? You know, that kind of stuff.
I have to tell everybody out there, it's the first time I've had homework. And I've got it all written down. You know, so if everybody gets, fed up, I'm just gonna be, reading from the news. No. These are just
in today's news. Yeah, we did a little test call the other day, and Alan didn't realize that he would be leaving class with like 5 days worth of homework. So
yeah, it was tough.
No pressure.
I wrote some of the answers when I was at work, so I kind of got paid to do it.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that.
No. Hang on a minute. I just want to see who this guy is on YouTube. Oh yeah. There's tons of people on the chat on YouTube. We've got nobody can see it because we've got a studio chat on StreamYard. But there's only me, Eric, and Mark in it. Well, it says 4, but I think I know why that is.
We can see each other here. We can't see you guys' chat unless we pull it on the phone or something. But there's a shit ton of people. Sorry, there's a lot of people on YouTube. Mao, Jordan, Surrealite Zero, Verdroid, Gorgeous Roy, Vladdy, Stefan, Yellow, Carol Phoenix. There's a ton of people on. Woohoo! No, Stefanatic, you're a towel.
No, you're a towel. Yeah,
we got this little thing where there's some comments that pop up on the screen every now and then.
Yeah, so I think Mark's doing that.
Mark's doing that. That little stinker.
He's lurking in the studio. There he is.
Probably touching himself if I know him. He's kind of a dog.
Yeah, I'm just going to leave this to Eric and Alan today. I'm just going to run the stream.
Yeah. He's a viewer.
Well, we're a bunch of clowns, so you know what to expect, bitches.
He's been the host with the most.
The hostess with the mostest.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway, should we crack on with some of these questions then, Eric?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So I guess for the first bit of questions I have for you, I kind of just want to get to an idea of your creative process and kind of like what inspires you a bit. You know, what makes you tick a little bit musically, and kind of your how you approach making music and that kind of stuff. So I was kind of wondering what first drew you to like electronic music and stuff, and how'd you get started in actually producing it? Like, how'd you get started listening to producing it?
That's not question one. Oh no, it is question one. Sorry.
You fucking towel.
We should let everybody know we're going to try and get a bit technical here as well. Mark is obviously running the stream on our behalf, so there's some little pictures and stuff that are going to flash up.
And a little bit later, we have a little bit of a hopefully a demo if everything goes the way it should. We got a little demo of some stuff. We won't give it away now.
Well, I'm just hoping that I sent Mark the right pictures, or that I've loaded the right pictures into StreamYard. Because if I've loaded the wrong pictures, it's going to be very embarrassing. Well, so as I say, I did a little bit of homework, so I wrote some stuff down, and I'm going to try and not read it like I'm reading the news, but
no, whatever's best for you, man. I mean, honestly, I couldn't remember my answers if I was in your spot either. So
yeah. And I just don't want it to be too boring for anybody that's watching. Anyway, let me tell you, I have been interested in music from a very early age. There's a photograph of me in existence, which I can't lay my hands on, but I am about 2 years old. And it's my mum and dad's old music system that they used to have in the house, which I do remember was a pie black box. So if anybody wants to go and Google that, they'll see what it looks like. But it was basically a turntable. I think it had a radio built in as well, but there's a picture of me basically putting a record on to the turntable, and I am about 2 years old. So
wow,
you know, the fascination with vinyl goes back a long
that was your first mix, huh?
Yeah, well, they only had one record player, so you know, it was a bit difficult to do any DJing on it. But and excuse me, I've got 4 older siblings. I've got an older brother and 3 older sisters, and they're all massively into music as well. And so I benefited from, you know, all their record collections when I was growing up. Mostly, again, just using these as an aide-memoire, but it was mostly soul, funk, Motown. My brother was into punk. The girls were into disco, and they were all more or less into new wave as well. So it gave me a really good start in my musical journey.
Really nice palette. So did you, as a youngin, did you ever play any kind of instruments or anything, or how did you kind of lead into starting to actually make and produce music?
When I was about, I think I might have been about, I've scribbled it down somewhere. Yeah, always into music. I begged my mum and dad for a keyboard, and I did eventually get one, a Casio, I think it was an MT520. Let me just check my notes, because I have, it was an MT520, the one with the little drum pads on it.
Oh, nice.
And I got that when I was about, I think it came out, again, let me refer to the notes, it came out in 87, so I would have been maybe 12 or 13 when I got that for Christmas. And it was cool as fuck, because like you could like mute drum parts on it and stuff, and you could record. And so I mean, that was basically like the beginning of, you know, being able to sequence stuff and you know, muck about with drum patterns and stuff. I also had a
first bit there, honestly.
I had the little Casio VL1, you know, the little white thing. It was really a calculator, but it was a keyboard as well. And it did that annoying little tune with it.
Yeah,
like the drums. And
I had a similar version of that. Yeah, my first keyboard.
Loved that, and I used to play stuff like OND, and you know, with one tiny hand on the tiny keyboard. But I played baritone when I was at secondary school. So again, bass instrument. It was disgusting though. It was always full of slevers, which is Scottish for saliva. And I don't, anybody that played a brass instrument will know the smell of
that,
you know, like the
gross clean out thing.
Yeah. But I used to be quite good at doing that. I don't want to do it now because I'll spit all over the camera. But embouchure, I think. Yeah, basically, I used to be quite So I played brass instrument for a little while, but I got bored of the smell. Formed a band when I was in 5th year or 6th year at school, I can't remember, and we did one gig. There's one recording of it on video cassette, which I have, and nobody else is getting it. And my friend
You
Derek.
need to see this.
Yeah, maybe one day. My friend Derek, who is Particle Drift, was also in the band. He played guitar. I should really have been the drummer because I did drums in music at school, but we didn't have a singer. Nobody was brave enough to actually, front the band. So I got shoved to the front. But I really should have been the drummer in the band because the drummer, who was John Connolly, was garbage. Sorry, joke. Yeah, we did one gig for Comic Relief, which was like it's still going now, charity thing for kids charities and all that.
Oh, nice. What
and
kind
it
of
was
music were you guys playing?
It was kind of rocky, sort of. There was a couple of our own tracks that were garbage as well, but we did Nirvana covers basically because we all had long hair and it was sort of the grunge era.
That's time to do that.
It would have been about 1990, 1991 that we did that. So yeah, it was kind of the beginning of Nirvana and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
I know I've seen online a picture of you from around that time with your long hair and stuff, rocking it.
Yeah, I did like having long hair, but it's just a pain in the arse growing it and keeping
Taking care of it, making it look good.
keeping it like the right color. Wink. But yeah, I miss my long hair. It was cool.
Long hair, don't care.
Yeah,
I can't have long hair. I get a damn afro all the time.
but your hair is cool, man. Your hair is cool.
So
Anyway,
I'm sorry.
we've missed the chance to do like the Mark. Are you ready?
What?
So part of question one, Eric had asked me what inspired me to get into electronic music, and that you can see on your screen was probably, well, the first anyway. It came out in May 1977, so I was only like 2.5, 3 years old when Giorgio Moroder produced Donna Summer's "I Feel Love," and it's you still hear it now, and it still sounds incredible, absolutely incredible. So yeah, that was probably one of the first. You can stop sharing that now, Mark.
Let me ask, do you own that one to this day?
I don't think I do actually. No, I don't think I do, which is a bit disappointing. Hang on, I'm just looking to see if I can find where those other pictures are, and I can't find them, so I won't bother. I'm scared that I'm gonna hit like end stream or something. There's so many like tabs and stuff open on my computer. It's insane.
Just don't open the porn tab, whatever you do.
No. So yeah, I wrote down a list of tracks that inspired me. After Donna Summer, there was Vienna by Ultravox. So again, I'm pretty sure loads of people out there will remember Ultravox. Midyear from Scotland was the main driving force behind Band Aid, which was the big sort of charity gig that him and Bob Geldof did for African kids in Ethiopia in 1985, I think that was. But I met Midyear when I worked in a pub when I was about 19. He came in for a drink one night and there was nobody else in the bar, so I got to sit and chat to him for about 45 minutes, and he was a sound guy. Yeah, lovely guy. After Ultravox, I've written down Visage, Fade to Grey. Again, another absolute classic kind of new wave track from 1980. So I was 6 years old when this came out. And I benefited from hearing these tunes because my brother's 10 years older than me. So he would have been like 16 at the time. And, he did a milk run, where he went around the delivered milk and made a fortune, and, had a shit ton of money to spend on records. And he did. So
you got to kind of hear him through him.
Yeah, totally. After that, 1981, and I reckon I got it for my 7th birthday. And it was the first record I ever owned, and it was Happy Birthday by Altered Images, who are a Scottish band. Well, Claire Grogan is certainly. She was in Gregory's Girl, the film, I think. So yeah, the first record I ever owned myself was by Altered Images, and it is a kind of poppy, synthy track. So again, bearing in mind, these are all building my love of music, electronica, stuff like that.
Blocks for what became your style.
Yeah. After that, 81 was the release of the Dare album by the Human League. I have got album art for all of these, but I'm so scared to touch the computer in case I crash it. So, but just imagine Phil Oakey with his lipstick on the cover of the album art, looking super androgynous. In 81, I again would be 7 years old.
It's really an iconic album cover.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, you can imagine as a 7-year-old living in the west of Scotland, seeing Top of the Pops and a guy wearing high heels and lipstick, and it was super confusing. I remember the first time my dad saw Culture Club on Top of the Pops. Oh my goodness!
Did his head explode?
Oh, I think his head's still splattered all over.
Lord.
That blew my dad away. My dad used to call him a gender bender.
Oh no!
the polite way of calling him something.
Yeah.
Let's move on from that. Anyway, talking of guys wearing high heels, 1982, when I was 8 years old, Prince released 1999. There were a couple of albums out before that, but that was the one that really, that everybody latched onto. I think nobody really knew Dirty Mind and For You and stuff like that, which are his earlier albums. But 1999 just blew me away.
That thing's good from front to back, in my opinion.
Yeah. I am
that track on it.
My favorite artist in the world of all time of any genre is Prince, and anybody that knows me will know that I'm a huge Prince fan. I'm also a fan of. I'm wearing their new T-shirt. Another Scottish band, Boards Canada. Love them to bits as well. But no, Prince, because that got me sort of back into like rock stuff, because up until then, like all of the kind of rock music that was around was quite cheesy and. Oh, I just saw a comment there. Somebody put Gary Newman. Yeah, I'm going to see Gary Newman in November, I think it is.
Are you?
Oh, it's Badger. Badger.
Yeah, I saw Gary Newman about 6-7 months ago down in Florida.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
He's doing the Telecon album, but he'll basically play like Cars, which is going to blow my tiny little mind. Because again, I heard that my brother had that on 7-inch single, and to be able to hear it live 40 plus years later, or 40 years I think it is going to be incredible.
Epic.
So I wrote down, obviously we're chatting about Prince, love Prince, and then obviously Purple Rain came out in 84 when I was 10. And I distinctly remember recording it off the radio. Sorry, I didn't, honestly. I did. Yeah, recorded it off the radio. And they played the full, like, 9-minute version of it, which, again, back in the day, when tracks were done for radio that were like 3 or 4 minutes long, a 9-minute long song blew people's minds. But it's a masterpiece from start to finish. The whole album is. And as I say, that just cemented my love of Prince for a lifetime. Back to my notes. So as I said, I got Altered Images bought for me for my 7th birthday, but the first record that I ever bought was in November 1985 when I was 11. And it came out in November, so it must have been money that I got from people from my birthday. And it was, again, back to the whole kind of Motown Funk Souls thing. It was Diana Ross was the first 7-inch single that I ever bought, Chain Reaction.
Which album?
I think the album's called Chain Reaction, is it not? I don't know.
Oh, Chain Reaction. Sorry, I missed it.
Oh, yeah. That was kind of after Diana Ross Diana, that had all the kind of disco stuff on it, Upside Down and all that.
Yeah.
But again, I only really discovered that in later years because my big sister bought the album, and then I finally got to hear it. But the first record I ever bought for myself with my own money was Diana Ross. Wow. And she toured lately, but the tickets were insanely expensive, and I think I was working the night she was playing in Glasgow anyway.
I also saw her down in Florida once at a Hollywood casino, man.
We have such similar taste in music.
Yeah. Her and her daughter, I tell you, looks a lot like her and is spot on. Like they sound so similar. It's scary. Like they can impersonate each other, and you wouldn't even be able to know, other than the age, obviously. But
I mean, Diana Ross was like the first diva, I suppose, but I think she deserves that, you know, because she is she's miles better than Mariah Carey.
yeah.
Sorry to any Mariah Carey fans out there. And yeah, back to the notes. After I bought Diana Ross, I bought my first 12-inch single, because 12 inches were pretty popular back then, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody did like a 12-inch remix, but the first 12-inch single I bought was Aha, Take On Me. And a fun fact about that song is that when I was on holiday with my mum and dad, some little seaside town in England somewhere, I was wandering along singing the lyrics to Take On Me, and my voice broke. So yeah, I reckon that would have been about 85, probably the summer of 86 maybe, so I'd be about 12 years old.
What do you mean your voice broke?
You know, like I was very kind of high-pitched,
Yeah.
almost kind of falsetto.
Okay.
And I was singing the high notes of Take Me On, and it went, and my voice broke.
It's like when you turn that pitch knob real quick.
Yeah, pretty much that's what happened. And then there's just a couple more tracks that I wrote down that are just after that. 86, Sig Sig Sputnik, Love Missile, F111. Again, I don't know if people remember that track, but it was offered to Prince to produce, and Prince turned it down because he thought it was too violent. And it ended up being produced by Giorgio Moroder. So again, you can see a bit of a theme here. That kind of heavily sequenced, lots of arpeggios, kind of, I don't know, it's just if you compare Sig Sig Sputnik to Donna Summer, is there any comparison? I suppose the only similarity is Giorgio Moroder.
Yeah, that's about it.
And the last track that I wrote down on my notes after that was Man to Man Meets Man Parish Male Stripper. That came out again. You need to listen to it. That came out in 86. The lyrics were a bit racy, and it was obviously huge at the time in like gay clubs and stuff like that. And I was drawn to the beat, the bass line, the provocative lyrics. Even the album cover's got like a bare-chested leather guy, and it's like
very
again,
suggestive.
You know, for let me sing 86. So for a 12-year-old kid.
Oh wait, Mark's got it. I want to be a male stripper at a go-go bar.
Oh, well done, Mark, for chopping that in. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yay!
I remember that track as well. It's awesome.
Why do I want to be a male stripper at a go-go bar now?
We all do.
Yeah, that sounds so exciting.
Isn't it?
I did too, and I was only 12 at the time, so you know. Yeah, so that was the kind of stuff that was formative, I think, up until like about the age of 12, 13. So, you know, I think pretty much your adult brain is fully formed pretty much almost by then. So I think the die was cast, and my
there's a lot of variation there, but there's also kind of a common theme with the styles and stuff that you like.
Yeah, it's bass lines, 4/4 beats, lots and lots of synthesizers. So yeah,
if it doesn't have a synthesizer, I don't want it.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, I did dabble with rock. I listened to, like, as quite a lot of electronic people do or did, listen to stuff like Metallica, Anthrax.
Oh, that's heavy. I would never picture you listening to stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's the precision of the guitars is so precise, and they rely heavily on melody and harmonics and stuff like that. So again, it's a completely different genre, but the similarities between that and dance music, and more specifically probably drum and bass, are unmistakable. So yeah, but you know, I very quickly stopped listening to them once I got into later school. Discovered the Prodigy, the Orbital, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and that was pretty much it. I just stopped listening to anything. I mean, I've got a guitar, but I can't play it.
Me too.
You know? But I like having a twang about on it now and again, and I quite like trying out the guitar as well.
I find the only thing I do with my guitar is run it through a whole bunch of effects and just make noises.
Yeah.
Just noises.
I mean, that's what guitar playing is anyway, is it not?
Yeah, pretty much.
So everybody, that was question 1. There's another bunch to come. Is everybody still here? Have people dropped off in boredom?
Not yet. Honestly,
Not yet. It's not bad for a Sunday afternoon.
Seriously, I'm saying.
What else would you be doing? Songs of Praise isn't on for another half an hour.
I don't know. I think I would probably be laying naked by the lake or something, but you know.
Well, I mean, I would if it wasn't 13 degrees and pissing rain outside.
Ooh. Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, your Audi will turn into an innie.
Yeah. Oh, my Audi. I thought you said my Audi.
Your Audi will turn into an innie.
Oh, right, yeah. I thought you meant something was going to happen to my car. Right, anyway, let's move on to question 2.
So, can you kind of walk us through like your typical creative process when you're making a new track? Like where do you start?
I can. So anyway, let me quickly digress. I've got some shit here that folk can see. Hey, that shit. This that people can see. Oh God.
Yeah.
Right. Triple nipple. There'll be no more. Right. I can't do it. How do I do this? What? No. That way. No. Anyway, there's decks here. There's a shit ton of hardware up here on a new Jasper stand that I just recently got. None of it's cabled up, by the way. Well, you can see the back's plugged in, but other than that, none of it's cabled up at the moment. So production-wise, I do everything at the moment in the box with Reason, and I have done for quite a while. I've had hardware stuff for a long time, but it can be a bit of a pain in the arse, and sometimes it's difficult to get like immediate results from hardware. So yeah. Producing in the box has been my preferred method for quite a while, but I am hybridizing as I go along, and you know, hopefully we'll get this way. Some of this stuff involved.
The same thing. Just do this.
No, it's insane. Left is right and right is left. But sorry, to go back to your question, the first thing that I do when I start a new track is drums. I always start with drums.
Question.
Yeah, I mean, I know loads of producers are like, oh, I've got a melody in my head, you know, and they jump onto the keyboard or a piano or something just to sort of get it down. But for me, it's drums. I always start with drums, and that dictates whether it's going to be like a trancey track, a kind of progressive house track, breaks. I can't say drum and bass because I don't write drum and bass. I've had a go at it, but I'll leave that to, you know, folks like Gasm and Sai and, you know, everybody that does D&B because they do it so well. Yeah, but 4/4 is where my heart is really. And so, yeah, it's usually drums that I start with. What did I write down? Yeah.
If you're starting with the drums too, I mean, it gets the groove, and I think the groove of things is very important too. Everything kind of builds off the groove, in my opinion.
I just want to say to everybody that I didn't, Eric hasn't seen my answers, but I wrote.
No way.
I like to get a groove going first. So again, that's something that must be common to all of the producers out there. You like to get something that gets your head nodding and your shoulders going, and you know, yeah. Once you get that tends to be when like a bass line comes to mind, or if you're just like noodling about on the keyboard. And just generally what I would do for a bass line as well, though, is like I would have an arpeggio running over whatever, you know, bass line sound I've got, so that I can instantly hear whether I like it or not.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've missed out a bunch that I wrote down. Yeah, but I'm in the box with Reason, but yeah, start with drums, get a bass line going, and that tends to kind of steer where the rest of the track goes.
The rest of the track goes.
I'll do a bit of monkeying about, do some gain staging. I might chuck isotope over the top of it just to boost it up a little bit and give me a real sense of how it's going to sound. I'm pretty good at ABing as well, and I nearly always use this. I don't know whether this is a tip for people or not, but I nearly always use dead mouse when I AB my stuff.
Really?
On the computer. Yeah.
Can I ask why? Like, what's made you choose that?
I just think the production value on his stuff is so high. I mean, if you say studio, it's like $5 million worth.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, if he can do what he does with that amount of kit, if I can get even 2% approximate of what he's done with what I've got, then that to me is like the gold standard, if you like. So yeah, that's why I would AB with dead mouse.
Okay. I'm gonna have to try that now. I'm gonna take your advice and see if it helps my shitty mixes.
No, don't say that. I'm being distracted. Mark said he's lost his camera and his mic, so I don't know. I'm hoping he's obviously still hosting the stream. So as long as we're still live,
it says we're live, or we're just talking to ourselves.
Yeah, are we just talking? Oh yeah, Sai said he's a masterful producer, so I'm guessing he's talking about dead mouse and not me.
You are too.
Yeah. So yeah, let's just kid on that you and I are talking to each other then, Eric.
So also I was wondering, like, where do you find inspiration when you're making music? Like do you draw from like emotions and feelings? Is it like your environment, your surroundings, or just something completely different?
I'm just trying to quickly speed read my note here. It depends. Inspiration. I mean, writer's block hits everybody.
It's real.
And it can depend on whether your kind of mental state, whether you're feeling a bit low or tired or depressed or but I think inspiration, well, yeah, listening to music and stuff like that always helps. Got quite a bit of old vinyl that I would listen to. I mean, if I'm doing a digital mix for Creative Collective or something like that, I'll quickly jump into like Juno or Beatport and have a listen to some of the new stuff that's out there. But there's so much music available now. And to be honest, I think like 95% of it's shit. So yeah, like the old days of going into a music shop and asking for like a stack of vinyl. The new stuff, it depends how well you knew the record shop owner as well. Sometimes they would keep you back the gems, or they would hide them from you because they knew they were going to sell them to like,
man. I knew you'd be
but they knew they would be selling, like, they had 6 copies and they'd be selling them to like the 6 local DJs that would bang them out in the clubs in Glasgow. But yeah, I would go through stacks and stacks of vinyl and just listen to, nope, don't like that. Nope, don't like that. And I'm a bit like that in Beatport now as well. Like if I do go to Beatport or Juno or whatever, Track Source, I'm like, nope, that's shite. Nope, that's shite. Nope, that's shite. So you maybe listen. Yeah, you listen to like 100 tracks and maybe pick 3, that I'd be prepared to actually, part with money and buy. I don't listen to the charts. I don't watch television. So, I don't really know what new stuff is out there. So yeah, maybe like my sound is a bit retro because I'm stuck in like the 90s, but I don't care because it was my era. I was a kid of the 80s. I was a sort of young adult going clubbing and raving in the 90s and the noughties. So,
I feel like your sound draws inspiration from that, but you also bring a new life to it,
Yeah, a lot of that's down to the technology though.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of stuff you can do like in the box or even with your hardware and stuff like that is insane. Yeah, everybody's got a sticker. Yay! By the way, if anybody wants stickers, send me a DM messenger. Where do we get to? Question 3, inspiration. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I would listen to old stuff. If I've not got writer's block or I'm in a heavy procrastination period, they sit at the computer and just jam about with some of the new sound packs that are out, or sample packs, or and just see if anything comes.
Waving my lighter, Gorgeous Roy says.
I'll do the equivalent. I'll wave my.
It's the modern equivalent.
Yeah.
So
JC
in the house.
I know. I've made a massive, faux pas of not saying hi to, continuing to say hi to everybody that's in the chat. JC, DJ Jones is here as well. Mao, did we say hello? Eric, Sound of James is here. Kieran Ellison, hello, Big K. Oh God, who else? Midnight Bandit. Sibby's here as well. Sibby. Paul is in from down south. Scottish Waves Music. Jordan's got his DYNAMIX stickers on his phone. Nice one, Jordan.
Nice.
Verdroid K. Hello, K.
I got DYNAMIX stickers all over my turntable.
Let's just go. Carol Phoenix, Sapro, who else have we missed? Robert's tuned in from Munich in Germany. Oh man, there's just Vladdy from California. Gorgeous Roy, we saw your comment earlier. Yeah, there's Sergio. Hello, Sergio. Shit ton of people tuned in. Thanks so much.
The whole crew in the house tonight, man. Shit.
Graham, hello. Graham as well from up north. Oh, Bell's tuned in as well. Kerry, hello.
Mikey B.
Is Mikey B here? Oh, Mikey B, yeah. Mikey and Big K are Creative Collective, so big ups, Creative Collective.
Yeah,
I'm going over to
got stuff going on.
Yeah, I'm going over in Northern Ireland, just looking at the date, in about 2 weeks. Yeah, this time next weekend I'll be in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to visit Toast and get my photo taken with the Coleraine town sign in the background
behind you. Nice.
Which is it's the new Vegas or the new Hollywood sign.
So on to question number 4. It's the age-old question. How do you decide when your track's done?
Oh, is that another coffee? Mm-hmm. Oh, Andrew's just brought me another coffee.
Aw.
Thanks, Andrew. I'm going to be absolutely bursting for a pish anytime soon. Cheers. Yeah, when's the track finished? Oh, Bert. No. So my other dog's just stole
Mark says the track is never finished.
Yeah. I mean, when is it finished? I don't know. The answer that I've written down is usually the day before Clownfest.
Ha! I love it.
We are a bunch of procrastinators. Yeah, yeah. He knows. Yeah, he knows.
Me, big time.
Yeah, it's usually I'm one of these kind of people that actually works quite well to a deadline. So if you give me months to do something, I'll waste time, I'll procrastinate, I'll put it off and I'll put it off and I'll put it off, and then about 4 days before it's due, I'll go, right, let's get this done. Sit down at the computer, start writing. Yeah. So for argument's sake, quite a lot of my stuff is probably unfinished. That there's probably EQing that could still be done to it. There's sound fixes that could be done to it. There could be mastering. There could there's a whole bunch of stuff that can happen after you think it's finished.
Yeah. Quite frankly, I really think that a lot of like producers or musicians and stuff out there making tracks are the same, because you're your biggest critic, so you're always gonna hear the stuff, and maybe nobody else might not hear it, but you're always going to be critiquing your work. So yeah, that might be kind of adding to why we feel the tracks are never finished.
Yeah, but I think if you're only you can know what you're trying to write, so that's where obviously the URL comes in really handy, because you can put stuff up that is a work in progress, and you can sort of get outside your little bubble, because you'll convince yourself that what you're doing is the best fucking thing that you've ever done.
You get a fresh set of ears on it, and then you play it in the URL, which obviously, like, I don't submit anything to the URL. I haven't done for years, basically, because I'm a lazy get. And I much prefer watching it and listening to everybody else's stuff, to be quite honest. But
That's where the URL comes in really handy, because people can get critique, and it's from people that are into all kind of genres of music, because obviously all kind of genres of music get submitted to the URL. And it'll give you a steer as to whether you need to do some sound tweaks or some arrangement, or if you've got like bagpipes or harmonica, get rid of them. Do you know what I mean? People will tell you honestly what they want to hear.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they are the consumers of your music. So I'm not saying you should write or adapt your stuff specifically to fit people's demands, but it pays to have an idea of the sort of spectrum of expectation. If you're writing, as I say, if you're writing dance music with bagpipes, it's never going to get played in Ibiza. It's never going to get played out in London or Berlin, or so if you're looking for that kind of commercial success, you have to kind of tailor what you write to that. But yeah, so to go back to the question, when is it finished? Is it ever finished?
No.
Is it ever really finished? It's finished when you render it, or when you export it and shut the computer down and go, I'm not doing any more to it. That's when it's finished.
Until the next time.
I've got like a folder with a bunch of work in progress, and I took advice from Dean Daughters when he said, go through stuff, and if it's just not blowing your skirt up, if it's just not, feeling like it can go anywhere, delete it. Just bin it, because otherwise you keep going back to it and you keep recycling old ideas that never worked the first time around, and they're still not going to work this time around. So just, have a clear out and just bin anything that you just don't think is going to work. So.
And it's not worth using all of your energy on that,
because you'll go back and go, maybe there's something, maybe there's there's an EQ, I could do a notch filter on it, or change the resonance in that also. You'll tinker with it forevermore. Just bin it, and set up a clean template, or wipe everything from the sequencer on your hardware and start again.
I've kind of not been really writing a whole lot of music, not to make it about me, writing a whole lot of music, but doing a lot of tinkering around with these guys behind me. And I often do that all the time. I'll just rip all the patch cables out, turn everything back to zero, and just start a new patch,
I hope if you're using Sarah's patch cables, you carefully remove them, that you don't just...
Oh, yeah, of course. Ah, get out of there. This patch sucks. So, Alan, thanks for kind of going over what?
Question 5. Oh no, we're going to try the.
Yeah.
We're going to try the.
Before we move on from your creative process and stuff, I know that you had got your reason to work and stuff. Knock on wood. I was wondering if you wanted to kind of show us what it looks like.
Can do. Well, we can try, and hopefully it will work. And I'll sit a little bit closer to the microphone, because I think that might involve or that might affect how the sound of the reason and the mic works as well. But okay. Everybody heard at the beginning of the show, Mark played a little bit of my Clownfest 9 set, and there's a little segment in it that I was particularly pleased with how it came out. And so I thought what I would do is literally just show everybody the reason screen, and just kind of talk you through a little bit about how I arrived at the decisions that I did.
That's awesome.
To produce that little segment. So I don't know, can Mark share that? Yeah, he can. So I've got the full set here. So like you can see the process of like track 1, you've got like up here, you've got a track happening there, and then there's another track happening here, and then another track happening here, and as the set progresses, obviously stuff moves from left to right because that's how sequencers work. Yeah, you can see like as you scroll down, that is effectively what my Clownfest set looks like. If I do that, it gets fully over. So there's a bunch of data there that is basically a combination of MIDI and audio. You can see if I pull the sequencer screen down, see my rack. on the left-hand side. And I know I should probably use this space over here, but I'm a bit OCD about stuff like that. So if I'm using EQs or VSTs or stuff, I tend to resize them and put them in this little kind of blank window here on the top right-hand side of the screen. But you can see like this, I don't know if you can actually see this little bit on the right-hand side.
Yep.
Allows me to scroll down the rack. So if you imagine like all of these devices here are effectively they're Reason devices, but each of them represents, like a piece of hardware that you would find in a studio. And
I love how Reason lays it out like that.
Yeah, and obviously, like, and this is the primary reason why I use Reason is because of this. The cable clutter. So the fact that you can actually flip the rack around and it hides every single one of the cables is an absolute joy to me, because I do have quite bad OCD when it comes to stuff like that, which is probably why the hardware behind me is like uncabled, because it's nice and neat. But yeah, this kind of stuff absolutely drives me mad. So electronic production probably wasn't the best choice for me, but so yeah, you can flip the rack around, but you can see there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. Octarex is a player, I guess you could say, in Reason, that plays sort of like sound clips. I'm trying to kind of turn it into layman's terms here, although that's probably doing everyone a disservice that's watching, because they probably know more about it than I do. Alligator is a gate, and it sends stuff through and chops bits out, so it makes sounds all nice and choppy. Europa is an absolutely stunning synthesizer. It's got a shit ton of controls that you can happily twiddle away with, till the cows come home. But jump into track 4, I think it was, which was the track at the beginning of the show. And so if I just pull the sequencer up, so everything that you see, sorry, I do quite a bit of music production on a Windows PC, but I've also started doing music production on a Mac. And I don't know if Mac users realize that the scroll button's back to front to what it is on Windows. So like when you scroll up, when you push up on a Windows machine, it goes down. And when you push up in a Mac, it goes up.
Mac is,
I think Mac is back to front. But anyway, so hopefully if I hit play on this, folks should be able to hear the sequence that was playing at the beginning of the show. And I can click on stuff and show you sequencer data. So these are the notes that are playing. That crazy little lead line. And this is automation. So yeah, you can see there's a shit ton of MIDI notes in there that are being sent to, are being played by what's called square tone acid, which is scroll that down again. If I click on it, you can see it is I can't even remember what they call it now, a device within Reason, and it will play. Nobody can see, but I'm playing on my little MIDI keyboard just now. It will play like a little sequence, but you can obviously go in here. You can see the green box around a dial, or a green box around anything in Reason shows you that there's automation happening. Down here below the sequencer data, you can see there's a low pass cutoff frequency, a low pass envelope modulation, and there's accent as well. And all these squiggly lines here that are I mean, look at the state of that, honestly, are automation instructions, you know, so it's instead of moving the dial with your hand, you're getting the computer to do it for you. But playing it in live, you know, you play it live and tweak the knob.
That's what I was going to ask.
In real time. And what the computer does is it records all of the tweaks that you made down here in the automation lanes. This minimal loop, I think, is an audio file that I got from, I think it could be Alexander. Is it Alexander? I think I got this from Fireflake. Let me solo it. No, I wrote that myself. So I wrote that in, I think I wrote it in Redrum. And is it from in? I can't remember. There's so much stuff there. I think I wrote that in Redrum and then pulled it in, but it's an audio file as opposed to a MIDI file. So you can see like sound waves here.
Yep.
Reason's incredible because you can chop stuff up so easily. You can see like that little segment. Again, it's, I can't really zoom in, but you can, well, I can zoom in, but I did that. Where did it go? Where'd it go? That's the only thing about, oh, there you go. So you can see, you know, these are just instructions to the computer to play individual sounds. And that, as I say, is an audio file that I wrote in Redrum and then bounced out as audio. I'm not even sure why I did that. It was probably just the mood I was in at the moment. But yeah, so as I say, that the sequence that played at the beginning of the show is here in this little segment of the sequencer data. And you know, that's how I write Clownfest for a start. If I make the screen a little bit bigger, you'll see how, you know, this here from the yellow box down to the green is effectively like one track, but the drums from the previous track continue on into the next track. And as that as that track kind of fades out, you can see these MIDI notes, you know, fade out. They stop as the song progresses. The next track that comes in here begins. So, you know, a lot of people have asked or commented that Clownfest sounds a little bit like a DJ mix, and it's because I write Clownfest to be almost like a DJ mix. So one track fades, you know, that, yeah, the actual parts of the track, you know, I'll stop and introduce new parts of the next track so that it does sound as if it's actually been mixed on DJ software. So,
and I like that. I think that's a good thing, like a good quality of your Clownfest sets too. It just flows real nicely from one track into the next. It's real smooth, almost liquidy.
No, thank you. Yeah, Sai says he loves Reason, but he uses Cubase. And I started in 1990, 1991 with C-Lab Notator on an Atari ST. And that was in 6th year at school. That was the year we did the band thing. Yeah. I also, my music teacher at the time said, I've got this new thing. It's an Atari ST. I already knew about the Atari ST because I played computer games on it. But he said, I've got a Roland, I think it was a D, again, I wrote it down, a D70 Roland keyboard, which was like really expensive at the time. And he said, go into it was in a cupboard basically at school, in a closet. And he said, go and learn it. And then when you learn how to use it, teach me how to use it. So
I love it.
The first thing I actually wrote was on a like a proper computer was in 1990 when I was like 16 years old. And it only exists on cassette. Scratchy old cassette, but I ripped it and I put it on SoundCloud. It is still on SoundCloud, but because my SoundCloud is basic as fuck, it's not in the, you know, it's not in the any of the tracks that you can hear. But I'll after the show, I'll go in and reorganize SoundCloud so that you can hear it. But I've still got the cassette, and if you look at the cassette, the artwork and stuff that I drew on the cassette. I think I called it Nexus 6 or something like that, and that was a reference to Blade Runner.
Yeah.
I know that's not the number of the robot, or is it the number of the robot? I can't remember now. But Nexus 6 was a reference to Blade Runner. And it says on the inner sleeve, copyright DYNAMIX. So Mark's put a comment, 10 questions left. This could be a 2.5-hour stream. Is everybody still okay? Does anybody need the toilet?
We're going to take a bathroom break, y'all.
No, we're not. I'm fine.
No.
But I won't drink too much more coffee.
No, but honestly, just in organically talking, me and you, we've actually kind of covered some of the following questions already. So there's a few that we can go by. But I am curious, how do you describe your sound these days?
Oh, okay. So question number 5. I recently, after the Pierrot gig in Manchester in March, which was my first ever live gig, I did a gig for my friend Fraser, who runs Attack Release, which is every last Wednesday in Glasgow. Live experimental music, everything from static white noise to people playing violins and cellos and all that kind of stuff, everything in between.
I love that.
That was my second ever live gig, and I had a bit of a technical difficulty at the Pierrot that I managed to iron out. So I got, actually, the second gig that I did was probably what I intended to do for my first ever gig. But I was asked to provide 3 words that described my sound for the flyer for the night, and a couple of mates helped, a couple of folks that I know who know my music pretty well. That would be Derek and Adrian. Hi Derek, hi Adrian. And they came up with, I think Derek said chunky, Adrian said chunky, Derek said atmospheric, and I thought house. So chunky, atmospheric, house describes my music.
I love it. That's thick, boy.
Chunky beats, atmospheric textures, and it is definitely house, because house doesn't necessarily mean a genre. It's more a state of mind. House is a state of mind. And back in the day, people used to say, yo, that's house. They didn't mean that's
everything.
Yeah, it's 4/4 beats, and written by a black artist from Chicago or whatever. It's a state of mind. It's more of a state of mind than it is a genre of music to me.
Absolutely, because it kind of also runs on the heels of that, like rave culture and party scene and stuff. From that time too, which was real new and real freeing.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just laughing at some of the comments that are popping that Mark put in it. I agree with Kieran when he says house is a feeling. But did someone say that Sgt. Pepper's was written on an Atari ST? Yeah. Tollington, no, they didn't. Lennon and McCartney wrote Sgt. Pepper's on an ST and Ringo programmed a 909. No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did, Alan. What the hell? Learn your music history, dude. Fuck.
Jesus.
So, you had, moving on to question 7, you had kind of talked about, well, I guess that's kind of not question 7, but you'd kind of talked about a mixture of analog and hybrid that you got going on right now. Yeah. You're trying to bring the hybrid more in.
Yeah. I mean, some of this stuff is quite old, like the Micro Korg, which has what is it with Korg gear and yellow keys, by the way? The Korg, which is
there it is. There it is.
It's only because it's got a nice bright white LED light, studio light on it, which is why it looks clean. But the keys are yellow, like the fingers of a person that smoked cigarettes for all their life. It's quite old, so I've had hardware for a long time. But as I say, like I would play with it for a while, get bored of it. Obviously, trying to get it into a mixer into the computer could be a bit of a pain in the arse as well. Yeah. So. I am on the lookout for a decent mixer to sum all of this stuff together, though, because I've got like a little Allen and Heath, but I want something with a few more inputs. I think I'm going to need probably about 12 or 16 inputs. I quite like the one that Charlie got, Charlie motherfucking Ryan bought a new Zoom mixer, I think it was.
I've heard good
so
things.
I might investigate that. But yeah, so as I say, I want a new mixer to sum all of this stuff together, and then it will get sent to either the Mac, or the studio computer, which is here.
The one you're on.
Yeah, and I'll track everything either through the mixer or like onto Reason and record it that way. But yeah, so the past 10 years has probably been pretty much solely digital and it's really only Reason.
Yeah.
I've got Ableton, but I just don't gel with it at all. And I think
it's not for everybody. It's either for you or not. Like there's no gray space, no middle ground, in my opinion.
I mean, most people, like when I did the little Reason flash there on the screen, most people will recognize like the studio side of Ableton is very similar, obviously, with all the sequencer data and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel as if so many people use Ableton and so many people use it in a similar way that a lot of people's stuff can sound like. I think you can tell when something's been done on Ableton. I think I can hear a difference.
Yeah.
As opposed to something that's done in Logic or.
I've heard the same loop from an Ableton, like stock Ableton pack, and I recognize it because when I was first starting to learn Ableton and stuff, I used it in a track.
Yeah.
And I hear it all the time now. I'm like, I recognize that.
Yeah, and it's probably because it bangs, you know, that people hear it and they go, oh yeah, I want that in my tune.
Yeah.
But you know, 500,000 other producers have went, oh, that bangs, I want that in my tune. So, I mean, I use a lot of stock stuff in Reason. I've got to admit, I use a lot of presets and tweak them just a little bit. Some other stuff I go in and completely, like init patch, you know, you initialize the synthesizer and just start building stuff from scratch. So it's a mixture of everything, you know, but I'm a firm believer if something works, you know, why wouldn't you use it?
Yeah.
But yeah, you just have to be careful that you're not using that one loop that everybody else is using.
Everybody recognizes, yeah. So you were telling us a bit about like your recent live gigs that you did and such. How has like Reason and hardware and the hybrid setup, how does that play into like when you play live? Are you using Reason or is it all hardware? Is it a mix?
Yeah. I mean, I know. There's sort of two camps. There's a DAW and a DAW-less camp. You know, people. Yeah. The Hardware Jams group is almost solely and explicitly hardware. Obviously, the clues in the name. But again, programming sequencers, left to right, programming sequencers and stuff and this is actually quite easy. The BeatStep Pro and the KeyStep Pro are actually quite easy to program. But if you're talking about like the 303 up here is a bit of a pain in the butt to learn how to program it. Once you get it, you know, dialed in, it's pretty simple. But the fact of chaining patterns and jumping from one song to the next and getting everything sequenced and synchronized with hardware, I think I do find a bit tedious. And you know, basically the computer does it in a split second. You know, I can jump from one song to the next. Mario says getting to a hybrid state's a good idea. Mainly when I try to use a DAW just as a fancy multi-track tape recorder. And yeah, Marius, to be honest, it can be, but you know, I've been using Reason for 12 or more years now. You'd think I'd know it better by now, but the sound design scope in Reason is just endless. You know, it's so deep, it's so cinematic, and you know, I love it to bits, and I can get results pretty quickly from it. I can't remember which Clownfest it was, maybe 11, 12. I wrote in 2 days.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so again, procrastinate, you know, Mark would announce Clownfest blah is in 8 months, and I'd be like, yay, chill out, man.
Yeah.
And then 7 months, 3 weeks, and 4 days later, I'd be like, fuck. So I'd basically isolate myself in the studio, say to Andrew, don't talk to me, I don't need to eat you know, for 3 days. Just leave me alone. And I would just start working on it, and you know,
I'm not coming out of here until it's done and ready and in Mark's inbox.
Yeah, after a couple of hours, I'll you know, go shuffle down the stairs, you know, looking bedraggled, and say to Andrew, right, I've got a minute done. And he'd be like, yay, just another 19 minutes to go.
Yeah, that's all.
So yeah, but I would just, you know, plug away at it, plug away, and spend, you know, all night writing stuff until I was tired. Ear fatigue is definitely something that you need to watch out for as a producer. You know, if you're in the studio for any more than like 2 or 3 hours, especially if you listen to stuff at high volume, you know, you basically just got to call it a night and say, I'll listen to it again in the morning, because your ears by that point are just fucked, you know.
Yeah.
You could be playing the loudest, most pristine stuff, and it'll just sound like, you know, you're underwater. So you definitely need to give your ears a break. And obviously your senses are precious. Your sight, your smell, your hearing, and everything is precious. So, you know, kind of I don't want to damage my ears too much. I like loud music as much as anybody, but when I'm writing, and especially when I'm mixing as well, I tend to do it at quite, I don't mean like a whisper, but at quite a low volume.
Everybody says to mixing stuff at low volumes.
Yeah.
Something about it also helps with the curating the sound too, you know.
Yeah, you can tend to hear if something's poking out a little bit too much, or if you can't hear something at all, but you know it's there. You know, you can do your gain staging, you know, that better that way, I think. But I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll do all that, and then I'll slam Isotope on it and see what it comes up with as a sort of suggested master.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people think that's cheating as well, but it saves so much time, and it gives good results, you know. So I'll put maybe like a mastering template over something and hear what it sounds like. And if I don't like it, I'll try a different template.
Yeah.
Or I'll use the mastering assistant to listen to it, and it gives you a sort of suggested jumping off point for like limiters, compressors, all that kind of stuff. You can do all the mid side and all of that fancy stuff on it as well. So
it's not really any different than, you know, it giving you advice is no different than if somebody's using a chart or a book or something. It's just more, you know, to learn what those tips should be. It's just more immediate, in my opinion. I mean, it's
quicker. It's quicker. I mean, I think, you know, again, the camps, people are pro AI, anti AI. Yeah. I think as long as you're using it to guide and help rather than actually write the music for you, then I'm all for it. It is effectively like having a pro mastering engineer sitting on your shoulder, giving you the, you know, telling you, have you tried this? And you go, oh, I would never even have thought of that, you know. So, but if you're using, again, one of the downsides to Reason is they've got, they're massively invested in releasing players and things, which are basically like, it's like an add-on bit of software that you can hit a key on the keyboard and it will go off and do this incredible, you know, sequence or arpeggio.
Kind of like Ableton has similar stuff with their newer versions, where you can dial in just a few like parameters like scale, key, blah blah blah, and it will generate a whole melody for you.
Yeah.
But I don't have that fancy version, but I kind of feel like it's a little bit of cheating in a way.
It is a little bit, but you're tweaking the parameters, so you are involved with it. But whilst you're doing that, you know, unless you would actually thinking about the arpeggio and exactly how you wanted it to sound, then to me it's the computer that's writing the music and not me.
Yeah.
So I try to I might use that for, you know, just for ideas, you know, or for inspiration, but I tend not to rely on that as the
same here.
You know, as the source of the music. So it's handy to kind of give you a jumping off point, but I tend to go, oh right, that sounds cool, but then I would go and play the arpeggio in, you know, myself as well. So. Yeah. But what we were asking, what were we on? Oh my gosh, what question were we on?
We're lost. Just kind of asking about how your live setup differed from your video setup and stuff. But you kind of led me with some stuff you were saying just with the production and stuff. What do you think is the most challenging part for you in making music? What's the thing that just fucks with you the most?
Undoubtedly the technology. It's got to be the technology. You know,
Yeah.
there's if you can set that drum kit and go boom, boom, you know, you're away. Sometimes even just getting something to load up, or you know, for the computer to recognize a VST or something like that can be, you know, can be a real problem. So yeah, generally, if we're talking about using either hardware or software, it is the technology. For hardware, it's cabling, you know, getting everything all synchronized and all summed together so that, you know, you can play a few different things on a few different boxes and it all sound, you can hear it all and it's all mixed and all that kind of stuff.
Also, the technology, when you know, unless you're like an expert at it, I feel like you can lose some inspiration trying to fuck around with the stuff and get it working.
Yeah.
How you imagine it should work, you know? Yeah.
I mean, I must admit, I've resisted using Apple for a long time. And again, anybody that knows me well knows that I'm not a fan of that. I'm just not a fan. But for live gigs and stuff, you really need it to work, you know, because as I say, for the live setup, I'll send sequencer data out from the computer to the boxes, and you know, tweak them on the fly and wang knobs and stuff like that. That's my live performance, if you like.
That's exactly how I'm doing it.
So, you know, I need that to work.
Yeah.
And obviously the kit, you can't see it, but the kit that I've got in front of me here is, you know, all cabled up. There's tons of power supplies, tons of cables, sound cards everywhere. You know, it's too much to take out on the road. Whereas that on the road to take to one or two rare gigs, that's much easier. And honestly, when you plug anything in, it says, "Would you like to use this?" Yes.
That's the part I like. It's like plug and play. I don't have to mess with ASIOS or any crap.
Yeah, I hate the operating system. Some people love it, but it's just not for me. And I know my way around a Windows machine, so. But yes, I mean, the hardest part about making it is definitely the tech, and after that, it's inspiration. You know, sometimes I mentioned earlier about writer's block, whether you're in a bit of a low. Mentally, physically, if you're tired, you know, sometimes you just can't be bothered as well. Yeah. You know, sometimes you sit, I plug everything in, and I go, no, I can't be bothered. You know, and that's where these come in handy. Not today. That's where these come in handy though, because I can get some records out and just have a mix, or you know, I can do digital stuff as well. So, you know, I can have a mix in that. You might hear a sequence or a sound, and you go, oh, I quite like that. You know, I might try and make something that sounds like that, or sample it, you know, and start playing around with the sample and see if that brings any inspiration for you as well. So.
Nice. I like that you have that kind of DJ setup, or DJ or turntable set up in the back, you know, that is kind of like an ulterior or alternative, I should say.
Yeah.
For those moments, and help you like draw that inspiration sometimes too.
I think whether I'm producing or I'm DJing, I'm always going to be DYNAMIX.
DYNAMIX.
Yeah.
I love that name. It's so fucking cool.
Thank you. DYNAMIX or DYNAMIX, whatever.
Just don't call me late for dinner.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me anymore, because Mark said DYNAMIX so many times. I actually say it myself now as well, and I'm like,
for the first like 3 years I knew you, I was calling you that, but you never corrected me. You're never like, no, that's not it.
Doesn't matter. Anybody can call me Al.
So, what has there been like a major breakthrough moment or like an aha moment with your music production, of like maybe a technique or just something that just like changed the game for you, kind of? Question 11.
Well, the first aha moment was obviously Take On Me, the 12-inch. Sorry. Aha. Yeah, but discovering, well, as I say, you know, using Cubase, or sorry, it was C-Lab back then, in the 90s, early 90s, opened my eyes to what was possible, you know, with a computer. But various things, you know, I was probably more into like DJing and stuff when I was that age. You know, I started collecting records when I was like 17, 18 years old. And then, you know, getting a job that was effectively a career kind of took me out of that environment for a long time. Also gave me the money to be able to buy stuff as well. But
Right.
getting my first copy of Reason, you know, however many years ago it was probably the game changer for me, because I played with it so much. I played with Reason so much that I fell in love with production. But again, over the years, kind of jumped back into like playing about with the decks a little bit, and would lose interest in the production side of things, and then would get back into the production side of things, and would, you know, pack the decks away for a few months or a couple of years. Or but I reckon the next big breakthrough would have been probably about 2017, 2018, when I stumbled across this idiot, Mark Gardner. Don't know if you've heard of him.
Who?
He's about to pop up. There he is.
Oh, that I know him.
17, 7 or 8 years ago. And again,
So you've been with Clown Army almost from like the beginning, like
Yeah.
pretty much.
yeah, pretty much.
True OG, a true OG.
It's one of these kind of urban myth type scenarios where people say, you know, how did you meet Mark? And I go, I can't remember. I honestly can't remember.
He's just always been there, hasn't he?
It was definitely, I think I know the video now because he has played it, and it's the one with Mark with the Pierrot face paint on. But yeah, meeting Mark, or, you know, stumbling across Mark, and then obviously seeing all the mad motherfuckers that are in the Clown Army, their personalities, their characteristics, their music as well, has
A lovely group of people.
has changed my life immeasurably. You know,
Me too.
I jokingly say to Mark, and he'll laugh at this, or maybe not. I always say it's all your fault, you know, but I don't mean it that way. What I mean is thank you, from the bottom of my heart, because, you know, you've given so many of us purpose, direction. You know, we've been on the roller coaster with you through thick and thin, highs and lows. And I'm really, you know, genuinely mean it when I say you're like a brother to me. You know, you just so easy to talk to. I mean, we've met each other in real life now at least, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 times, which, given that we stay practically opposite ends of the United Kingdom, it's not, you know, it's not impossible to hang out. But you know, the fact that we've made the effort, he's been to my place a couple of times, and I've been to his place in Bristol a couple of times, and obviously we've met at, you know, outdoor things a couple of times. Yeah, he's like a brother to me, and the Clown Army, the extended Clown Army, are brothers and sisters, you know, to me as well. I love you all, Clown Army, and I can do it. Yay, can I do it? Yeah. Yay! But, you know, there's thousands and thousands of people. There's what, about 7,500 people in the Clown Army. There must be a good couple of thousand, maybe 3,000-4,000 in Hardware Jams. We're nudging a couple of thousand subscribers with Creative Collective as well. So across even just those 3 communities, you're looking at like 15,000 people that all kind of know one another. I mean, there's going to be thousands of people that lurk, but, you know, it's a massive community, really. And
You're right. They all just kind of overlap each other too in a lot of ways.
Yeah. There's a lot of crossover. There's definitely a lot of crossover as well. But yeah, as I say, meeting Mark, or stumbling across Mark 8 years ago, you know, it's one of these kind of sliding doors things. You think, if I hadn't seen that video, would I have stumbled across the URL, Hardware Jams, Creative Collective? You know, would I have even bothered or dared to pursue, you know, my interest in electronic music and production? And I think I would have, but, you know, I can't imagine a world without the Clown Army in it.
Either.
I'm sure a lot of people would, well, I hope would agree.
I think pretty much everybody in the chat today would agree.
Yay! I'm just checking who's still here. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's the
That's
one.
the one.
That's the one. I mean, you can see he's only got white paint. He doesn't have the black eyes. He's got all the scribbles on his bedroom wall, which I kind of was like, what the fuck does that even mean? But I now know what it meant and what it symbolizes, and you know, because Mark explained to me what it all meant.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The first one I saw was that one where he was in a bathtub.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Kit and stuff, and I was like, this fucking guy's crazy. And then the rest is history.
Yeah, I must admit, I've got a couple of Volcas, but I've never taken them into the bath with me.
We know why, because you haven't.
I prefer candles. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. I love those.
There's just.
Look at his titties. Look at this makeup. Titties.
There's just too many chaos pads in that video for my liking.
An entire
too many
chaos pads.
Far too many chaos pads.
Well, you didn't see the 3 that are on the ceiling out of camera.
Yeah. Mark knows how I feel about chaos pads as well. They're called chaos for a reason.
Precisely.
Yeah, they just cause chaos and horrible ground loop hums as well. So where did we get to? Breakthrough moment. Next one. Do I enjoy collabing? Sorry, I'm pushing this on.
No, do you enjoy collabing, or do you got a collab partner for the challenge thing that we're doing?
I do, and it depends who the collab partner is. Now, I wrote down a couple more comments here. My first thing that I want to say is my collab partner for Collab Challenge 2 was supposed to be Morgan, and I haven't heard from you in a while, Morgan, so I hope you're okay. But also the relative newcomer to the Clown Army, Austin, or Oz as everybody knows him. He's not in Australia, by the way, he's in America.
That's a fake, false advertisement, dude.
I think everybody assumed because his name was Oz, AUS, that he was in Australia, but he's not. He's in the States. So we have started collabing for the Collab Challenge 2. We set a BPM, we set a key that we were going to write in, and we both went away. Oz beat me to it within a day, came back with some stuff, and I was like, wow, that's fucking brilliant. And that was a leap off or a jump off point for me to get some textures and stuff down. And so again, a little bit of a struggle with time for me over the last wee while. We've had quite a lot of stuff on at home. Nothing serious, just good stuff. Like Inky's mum and dad, and I'm going to say hello to Des and James and Margie because they came to visit last weekend to Scotland, so it was lovely to see them, and also to Inky as well. Miss you, sister. So yeah, we've been doing loads of good stuff that's just kind of taken up quite a lot of my time. So, but yeah, Oz and I have got something good going. He's got lyrics and stuff sorted out as well. So. And I've got time off coming up as well, hence why I've got the chance to go over to Northern Ireland and visit Creative Collective to see Toast, but also to spend a little bit of time on the collab as well, because it's due at the end of July, I think. Mark, correct me, am I wrong?
Remind us.
Yeah, end of July for the Collab Challenge.
Cool.
And then we'll probably do the show in August sometime. Maybe might put that in with the 8th birthday.
Cool.
A collab challenge.
A collab challenge indeed.
Elsa!
A collab challenge was all Elsa's idea, so she'll be in for the show as well. So yeah. So
wait,
yeah, get your shit together.
Partner?
Well, it was Gravy, Graham Lee, but unfortunately Elsa kind of pulled out again, so we paired Graham Lee up with somebody else. I actually have I've actually almost finished my collab track as well. I went over to Warren's and did a bit with that as well. So mine is almost finished. So get your shit together out there, people, and get it in by the end of July. All right, back.
Don't be like Elsa.
I'll have
Yeah,
mine
don't be like
to you.
Elsa.
I'll have mine to you the day before, Mark.
Yeah,
Typical fashion.
I knew that was always going to be the case. Always going to be the case. Right, back to the interview.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, like honestly, I've got all this stuff to sort out and get cabled up. But that is more of a sort of background hobby thing for me. You know,
Yeah.
if I'm doing the collab with those, I think he's in Ableton. I can't remember, but we're sending audio stuff back and forth.
I was going to ask how that works using different DAWs, if it's a bit challenging or whatnot.
Yeah, so we're just like bouncing stuff out to stems and sending stems back and forth. So
Okay.
we can incorporate them into our own sort of sets. But what I'm doing is, like, before I change anything radically, I take a save of it and say, right, put that to the side, so that if I change something too much and he maybe doesn't like it, then I'll go
back
right
to the
scratch. Yeah, we'll revert back to that and we'll take it in a different direction. So, but it depends. A collab can be difficult if it's a collab partner that's into like completely different genres, or if they're not willing to compromise as well, because you can end up just riding the coattails of the more dominant collaborator, and then you get involved in something that you kind of think, no, that wasn't really what I wanted. I have to hold my hand up and say the first collab challenge I did with Kirsty, who is Cult 303, and I did almost nothing to that, but not from a like I'm saying that Kirsty's dominated me or anything like that. She just wrote such fucking good music that it felt to me that
what's there left to do?
Doing anything major to it was going to destroy the absolutely brilliant work that she had already put in. So it was just a couple of little flourishes here and there, and it was done. And it's fantastic. As far as I'm concerned, it's absolutely fantastic. I love it. But obviously, all of that stuff's on the original, the collab. Was that the Tomfoolery Alliance?
Yeah,
I remember.
Yep.
I'm sure that's the Tomfoolery Alliance, which is obviously still available on the Clown Army Bandcamp. But yeah, so long story short, do I like collaborating? Depends. It depends. Yeah, it depends on energy, time, inspiration, compromise. It's a collab challenge for a reason. It's not meant to be easy.
Yeah. I find those first three things, the inspiration, the energy, the time, are my biggest barriers when I'm trying to do the collabs. Yeah. Like even when I was working with Fanatic 12,000 and stuff, our work, and then it doesn't help that I'm also like 6 hours behind of most of y'all.
Yeah, time difference is definitely is an issue, but a lot of people have got jobs as well, that take them out of the house for lots of hours of the day, and then the rest of the stuff in life, cooking, cleaning, all that shit takes time as well. Yeah, totally.
I had the question of how do you stay connected in the electronic music community, but I think we know the answer.
Yeah, it's this.
We're doing it. Trying to.
It's Messenger or Instagram or Facebook or whatever platform you choose to use, or none of them if you choose to use them, and if you don't, I don't particularly blame you.
There's a few off the grid.
I've got Badger's mobile number, and I think the only way I can communicate with him is by text message. Same with Morgan. If I want to message Morgan, it's by a text message. But that's their choice, and I applaud that. That they can control how contactable they are, because it can get pretty easy. And you can get, as I say, I've got a bit of OCD, so I get a bit obsessed sometimes with replying to like every message of every comment on a Facebook post or something. I want to say something back to let people know that I've read it. So I guess that is my way of engaging with the community. Going to Attack Release, last Wednesday of every month in Glasgow is brilliant as well, because I've met some really, really cool people there.
And they're
but
fairly local to you, aren't they?
Yeah. Although the last month there were people there playing from Holland. I think the month before there was someone who came over from Australia to play. So,
oh wow, that's a drive.
I'm pretty sure it was Australia. So yeah, there's local community in real life, but there's a massive online community, and even through Facebook or Messenger or Instagram is where it's at, for a lot of people. And it helps you promote your stuff as well. It helps you get it out to people so they can hear it and watch it or whatever.
Well, that's funny you mentioned the promoting bit, because that was actually my next question is, how do you go about promoting your own music or stuff that you're part of?
Yeah. Well, like I just said, stick it up on Facebook. Most stuff that I've got is on YouTube, and it's mostly clown-based stuff, so all the Clown Fest stuff. There's a good few DJ sets as well, which are of varying quality. Some of them are absolutely terrible, and some of them are really, really good, and I'm quite proud of, and I'll listen to again when I'm sitting in the garden with a cold drink on a hot sunny day. But yeah, YouTube I find is good for hosting your stuff, but you've really got to get your finger out and do a little bit of legwork, or a bit of effort.
Yeah.
I love merchandise also. As I said earlier, sending out stickers and stuff to people, I absolutely love doing. And if you want a sticker, a DYNAMIX sticker, send me a message.
Shiny.
Oh yeah, that's the new ones. Yeah, the holographic ones are pretty cool. But yeah, I sent the Pierrot posters to a bunch of people around about Europe and some to the States. All of them arrived in the States.
I got one.
All of them arrived safely. But I love doing stuff like that. I love merch. I did the lighters at the Pierrot gig, and planned to sell them for like £1 each, and ended up just giving them all away because I'm that kind of person. But yeah, so stuff like that I find is self-promotion. Who doesn't love a lighter? Do you know what I mean? Who doesn't love a lighter? Who doesn't smoke? Who doesn't love a candle, and who doesn't love starting fires?
I think I like all three of them.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, that kind of thing is good for self-promotion. Bandcamp obviously is brilliant, but I've got a bit of an issue with Bandcamp at the moment. I think I've got 3 or 4 different accounts. And I think I've made a whoopsie with one of them, and it's locked me out of all 4. So I still buy people's music on Bandcamp. But what I have to do as a workaround is instantly, as soon as I buy it, I have to download it to my phone, and then I have to put it onto OneDrive or Google Drive, or because I cannot get logged into Bandcamp, and you get absolutely zero response from. They have no customer support whatsoever. So beware of that. Be very precious about your Bandcamp login details. Anybody that's got Bandcamp accounts, because if you lose it, you're fucked.
Damn. Yeah, that happened to me. I had to end up creating a whole new one, and I had the other one for like 6, 7, 8 years, or long ass time. And I just I've got to create a whole new one with a new handle, and I just hit the reset button. I was like, fuck it.
I suspect I'm going to have to do that. But if I am serious about like actually releasing anything, I'm going to have to be serious about that. But my dream has always been to have something of mine on vinyl, but at the moment I don't think anything that I've written is actually worthy of being pressed onto vinyl.
I do.
Well, thanks, Eric. Cheers.
I think so.
I don't know, but my dream is to be able to hold a piece of vinyl. So like, for example, when Gaz got his first track on vinyl, and he was so proud of it, I had to buy it. I was like, I need to feel what it's like. I need to tap into Gasm's joy of holding a piece of vinyl. And being able to hold a piece of vinyl that was produced by your mate is mind-blowing.
It's a special feeling. It really is.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Roger keeps saying, you got another record in the mail. I'm like, well, let's get another buddy release something. Sorry. Yeah, and it's kudos to anybody that can put stuff out in vinyl. It costs a bit of money, and it takes a bit of
balls to basically say what I'm going to put on this is, good enough to be pressed.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll get there one day. Hopefully soon. But yeah, my dream is basically to hold a piece of vinyl and be able to get it on. See, I can do it right when it's the decks.
You got it.
It's to be able to play it on here. Drop the needle on my record, not just our record.
That's me.
My record.
That's me.
Yeah, it's definitely a dream. So where do we get to? What's
last
next?
question. What's next? What can we expect from you, man?
What's next? Well, sadly, I'm going to miss Clownfest in Field, which is next weekend in South Wales. So I wish everybody that's playing and going a great time. I sent Mark the weather forecast, and it looks like it's going to be 30 degrees in South Wales next weekend. So everybody make sure you take plenty of sunscreen, plenty of water, and a big hat, like a sombrero. So yeah, as I say, I'm going to miss that, but not hopefully, I am playing the next Clown Army sound system gig, which is on the 2nd of October in Digital in Newcastle, and it's Graham Lee that's organising all of that.
Nice.
So that's the next official gig that I'll be playing. And if I can get my Bandcamp details sorted out, then hopefully I'll maybe put some stuff up onto Bandcamp. But I do need to finish some tracks as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. As I say, just keep plugging away at all this kind of stuff here, and squirreling away on Reason, getting stuff down and getting ideas down. And, just keep plugging away. One of these days I might actually have vinyl to sell.
I know I'll be buying a copy.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just keep plugging away. Keep listening to the URL. Keep listening to everybody's absolutely incredible music.
And learning and growing while we're doing it.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever walked away from a URL where I didn't feel like I actually learned or grew in some way.
Yeah.
Even if it's not my music, just
yeah, we know how you would grow a little. Anyway, I'm not going to go. No, I agree. You usually, one of my favourite and often mentioned sayings is every day's a school day, or every day's a day to learn something new. Because if you've stopped learning, then you've closed your ears, you've closed your mind. You need to keep your ears open, keep your mind open, and take on board, all of the tips and tricks, and watch the YouTube tutorials. And there's tons of people that I love, like Gu Beats and Andrew Huang, and that do online tutorials. And I watch them, and I go, "Oh, I didn't know I could do that."
Right.
You go away and test it, and you're like, "Yeah, that works. I'm going to incorporate that into my workflow or my process." Or so yeah, just continue to grow and learn and stay in the Clown Army. Don't be a cunt.
Mark, you got anything for us? Anything to add, or
How many times a day do you masturbate?
Yeah, how many times?
12.
Good answer.
12,000?
No, that would be Stefan.
No, I think the interview went really, really well.
Thank you, Mark.
Great answers.
You did really
great.
great.
Tried me best. Thanks to Eric, obviously, for kicking this idea off. I think it's a good idea. It's going to be.
Thank you.
It's going to be interesting to see who's up next. When do we see the next poll?
I imagine that will go up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, probably
Cool.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Cool. Because I'm going to suggest Leroy.
Yeah, do it.
This is like the ice bucket challenge all over again. I'm going to nominate Leroy, and I'm going to vote for him on my 72 Facebook accounts.
It's kind of fitting, actually, Alan, that you were the first person to do this, because like Eric said earlier on, you have been in the army since day one. Literally since day one. I remember you reaching out to me literally just after I put out the first video, and yeah, 15 for 15 Clown Fests.
Hopefully. I'll start writing it about the 16th, 17th of December.
Yeah. Oh, I know. They're like, everybody's like, oh, you need to set a deadline for Clownfest, and it's like, it's pointless. It's absolutely pointless. So I'll get the sets in when I get the sets in, and usually it's like on the fucking day, unless your name's Rich Lambo or Charlie Ryan or Kay Vanderhayden, then I get it like 5 minutes before the fucking set.
Richard, is your set ready, Lambo? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, my plan for 15 is to steal the idea that Syntax Era used, which is with all of his hardware. Oh, I got it right. Is with all of his hardware, but obviously I've got a little bit of green screen behind it, so I can do a sort of be in the video this time rather than just using graphics and stuff like that.
Well, that's excellent. That means that you've done 14 Clownfests and they've all been kind of in the box, and then this one, the 15th, is you're going to actually be doing it live.
What, live?
Not live, but you know what I mean, like twisting knobs and stuff, and like we can actually see you do things.
Yeah,
so that's quite a big thing for somebody to do as well.
Yeah, I mean the first couple were, I don't know if you remember, there was a little bit of hardware around, but it was still mostly, you know, Reason that was driving the sequencing and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm going to try and do this one live.
Excellent.
That's the plan anyway.
I'm gonna do my Clownfest live on the beach in my whitey tidies with just an APC.
Wow.
Or maybe naked with the APC on my lap.
Gasm has already done drum and beach, so you're taking that idea another step further and doing
naked beach.
Yeah. Shitty beach.
We'll hold you to this, Eric. We'll hold you to this.
Yeah.
Shitty beach.
Yeah. He's gonna be on the lake in the buff with nothing but an APC.
And we'll go until the cops come and get me. Because I do have neighbors right there.
Yeah. So that if we hear the siren as an outro.
Yeah, we know why.
It was all live, man. That siren was live, brother.
Yeah. Here comes the end of the set.
So what you're saying next time, Alan, is when the poll goes up, we should all vote for Gorgeous Roy.
Yeah.
Alan's over here swaying the votes and shit, man.
Well, it was Gorgeous Roy who put him in the poll, and Alan was like, God damn it!
Homework! I got homework.
Yeah.
Up for me.
Honestly, having met Leroy and spoken to him and known him in the Cloud Army for a good couple of years now, I think he would definitely be a superb candidate for.
Oh, he's got loads of stories.
I'm not trying to influence it in any way, but I think he would definitely be a superb candidate. It's really good fun, Leroy. And if you can talk for 2 hours, like I think we just have, then you know, it's just as I said to Eric earlier, it's just like having a chat with your friends.
Yeah.
But
That's
there's a
the
bunch
vibe
of people.
I want to keep with it, man.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people watching, so you're obviously trying to kind of tailor your answers a little bit, but there's still like 30 people in the YouTube chat that are watching.
Yeah. We've kept good numbers.
Yeah, thanks so much to everybody that's tuned in. Because
anybody in the chat got a question?
Oh God,
yes.
Yeah.
I forgot to do that. I'm so sorry, Eric. Yeah, does anybody out there have a question for Alan?
That doesn't involve
titties.
Any excuse to show them off, baby.
Literally, I was just about to say that.
Can we call this hashtag triple nipple?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Hashtag triple nipple.
Any excuse to get a boob out.
Yeah.
So no questions coming through at the moment. Oh, what's your day job?
Oh, a day job is making sure that aeroplanes get from A to B safely.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't really want to say too much more about that.
Nice.
No.
Just because they're wankers about it, not me.
Sibby wants to know when you're doing a collab with her.
Anytime, sister. Anytime.
That would be so sick.
It would be so easy because we both use Reason, so
yeah, it's going to be easy for you passing files.
We could literally share the file. You know, we would only really need to have one file that we can ping back and forth. And again, in that instance, you would just save state, make a few changes, ping it back. You know, ideally, when you're doing a collab, if you're using the same DAW, yeah, that's perfect. But anytime, Sibby, anytime.
Bad Badger. To answer your question, I think Keith Richards was here before the universe. I'm certain he was there. God got here and was just like, "Oh, who's that guy in the corner?"
Badger said, "What was here before the universe?" I don't know. I've got a sort of a theory that it was like everything in reverse, maybe. So everything was just like going backwards, and then everything just kind of went zzz, boo, and then started again. And we're on the other side. I think that's where the whole deja vu thing comes from.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe, I don't know. Or maybe there was just, I don't know. Yeah, Keith Richards.
Do you know what I think the Big Bang is? I think the Big Bang is somebody turning a computer on.
Yeah, me too. I literally
what do engineers call it? A power cycle? Power, is it just power cycle? Yeah. Somebody just went Control Alt Delete, or click the switch.
Space Cat Audio Technology says, "Is that bass synth connected up?" And I can answer that question. Not at the moment.
Aaron, it's not. It's not. Or the Dubster, or the Double Trouble, but they will be. They will be very
Alan
soon.
just chucked it on the Jasper's rack. Just have a decent background for this one. But like he says, that's going to be his Clownfest set for the next one, so it will be hooked up at some point.
For sure. And I'm gonna, now that Aaron's got a bit of downtime, I'm going to be speaking to him and get some expert tutorials on just how to use all of this stuff properly, to do it justice. Because I feel like I've had it for so long. The Double Trouble is awesome. I used that in my set in Glasgow.
Great, and it just piece of kit.
Dirties everything up to perfection. It's
what
perfect.
the Double Trouble did to a 909 kick is insane. You would have to process that so much within a DAW to get that sound out of it, and oh my god, it just chucked it out at us.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and the fact that you can
flip
tweak it as well. Yeah.
Madio says red or blue pill. I can't remember
Both.
which one was which.
Both. Yeah.
Both.
Purple. Yeah.
Why do you get to choose?
Stop making me choose.
Yeah, don't make us choose.
Stop making me choose here. Yeah, both. I mean, I'm assuming the blue one's Viagra.
I crushed him and scored him.
Yeah.
What's the red one? Is that for heartburn or something?
For heartburn, when the blue one gives you an erection.
Yeah. So just both in a glass of milk. But yeah, everybody go and vote for Leroy for the next, next one of these, because I think he would be an awesome contributor. He's got incredible stories.
Yeah.
And you might see him like bench pressing the Triton or something like that. He's got a Korg Triton that literally weighs about 1,000. Yeah, about 1,000 tons.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So, he brought that to his performance.
He's bringing it to Clownfest in a field. He bought a controller surface, but he didn't quite do what he wanted to do, which was nice and light. So now he's got to bring his fucking massive Triton, which is, and it's just to get piano sounds out of it. Yeah. Bless him.
He's bringing the Triton on a tank.
Yeah. Aphex Twin style.
Yeah. He's got a Sherman tank lined up to wheel.
Does a Sherman tank have a Sherman filter? I need to know.
I would hope so.
Well, Alan, I think that brings us to the end, man.
Yep.
Thank you so much for doing all of your homework, first off. Like a good little boy.
Thank you, Eric. And thank you, Mark, for hosting and doing all the kind of cool pop-up questions and all that shit as well.
All good.
We've got... I hope everybody heard that the reason audio worked. So if anybody wants the info behind how I did that, because it took quite a bit of more homework from me to suss how to get sound onto StreamYard. It's dead easy, but hit me up and I'll point you towards the video that I watched that sorted it out for me in about 2 minutes. So I hope the sound worked okay for everybody. It was just a little snapshot of like how I work and how I write stuff, and I hope everybody enjoyed listening to me warble on for the last couple of hours.
I definitely
did.
I
sure did.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thanks,
And
Clown
you-
Army.
Made my interview easy, brother.
Oh, well, I look forward to watching the next one as a viewer.
Yes, it's always easier as a viewer. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Right,
everybody.
Shall we end with a little bit of DYNAMIX's set from Clownfest 9?
Yes.
All right, Eric,
Cool,
thank you
brother.
so much for hosting the interview. Alan, thank you so much for being the interviewee. And
Thank you.
Yeah.
Look for the poll tomorrow for the next one. Going out tomorrow, and then also go share this bitch with all of your friends, your parents, your cat, your dog. Share it. Let's show Alan some love.
Indeedly do.
Yay.
All right, we shall leave Alan up for a couple of seconds.
See, I can't. It doesn't hurt me.